In 1875, a Sanskrit scholar discovered something that would shake modern aviation to its core. Buried in ancient texts, thousands of years old, were detailed blueprints for flying machines, complete with technical specifications, fuel sources, and even combat maneuvers. But here's what nobody's telling you. What if I told you that the Wright brothers weren't the first to dream of human flight? What if detailed instructions for building aircraft existed 2000 years before Leonardo da Vinci's flying machine sketches? And what if these weren't just dreams, but actual technical manuals? I am here to take you deep into one of history's most controversial mysteries, the Vimanas of ancient India. By the end of this video, you'll see why NASA scientists, military engineers, and archaeologists are still arguing about these texts today. But first, we need to talk about what happened in 1895 that the history books conveniently left out. The year is 1895. A Sanskrit scholar named Shivkar Bapuji Talpade stands before a crowd in Mumbai. He's about to do something impossible. Fly a machine based on ancient Sanskrit texts 8 years before the Wright brothers. According to witnesses, his unmanned aircraft called Marut Sakha rose to a height of 1500 feet before crashing. The British colonial government immediately shut down his experiments. His work disappeared. Convenient, right? But Talpade's machine wasn't random. It was based on something far older and far more detailed. The primary source is a text called the Vaimanika Shastra, allegedly channeled in the early 1900s from ancient memories. Critics say this makes it unreliable. But here's the thing, it references older texts that we can verify, the Rigveda, the Mahabharata, and the Ramayana. And these aren't vague mentions. We are talking about 32 secrets of how Vimanas work, specific metals and alloys required, 7 types of engines, and detailed descriptions of maneuvers, including becoming invisible, listening to enemy conversations, and even interdimensional travel. Now, before you click away thinking this is pseudoscience, wait until you hear what the Indian Institute of Science found when they analyzed these texts. Let me read you a direct translation from the Mahabharata. Bhima flew on his car, resplendent as the sun and loud as thunder, moving through the air with the speed of thought, rushing through space like a blazing comet. Speed of thought? That's faster than sound, possibly supersonic. The Ramayana describes Ravana's Pushpaka Vimana this way. The Pushpaka Vimana that resembles the sun and belongs to my brother was brought by the powerful Ravana. That aerial and excellent Vimana, going everywhere at will, is ready for thee. That Vimana resembles a bright cloud in the sky, and the king got in, and the excellent Vimana, at the command of the Raghira, rose up into the higher atmosphere. Here's where it gets wild. The Vaimanika Shastra doesn't just describe flying, it provides technical details. The energy sources listed include Mercury vortex engines, yes, Mercury, solar energy collection, and something called Gudha, possibly anti-gravity technology. The materials listed include Raja Loha or royal metal, described as a light, heat-resistant alloy, Ara Tamra, a copper-based alloy, and combinations of 16 specific metals. In 1974, researchers at IIT did something remarkable. They tried to recreate one of these metals. What they found shocked them. A team led by aeronautical engineer H.S. Mukunda at the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore studied the Vaimanika Shastra in 1974. Their conclusion? The designs were aerodynamically unfeasible with modern understanding. But, and this is crucial, they noted several things. The level of technical detail was far beyond what a fraudulent text would need. Certain principles described matched concepts we only discovered in the 20th century. Certain metal alloys, when tested, had properties the ancient texts claimed. And then there's the Mercury vortex engine, because NASA has a patent for something eerily similar, but we'll get to that. Let's be fair, critics make solid points. The Vaimanika Shastra was channeled in 1904 during British colonial rule, possibly as a nationalistic mythology to compete with Western technology. When engineers try to build these craft using the described specifications, they don't work with our current understanding of physics. No archaeological evidence exists of actual Vimana artifacts, landing sites, or debris. These are legitimate concerns, but the counter-arguments are equally compelling. The Vaimanika Shastra claims to be based on much older texts, and the Rigveda, Mahabharata, and Ramayana, which are ancient, contain hundreds of similar references. Mercury vortex propulsion seemed impossible until Boeing and NASA started researching similar principles in the 1950s for plasma-based propulsion systems. In 2015, archaeologists discovered vitrified forts in Scotland and India, ancient structures where stone was melted into glass. The heat required over 1100 degrees Celsius. The ancient texts describe weapons fired from Vimanas capable of such temperatures. Now here's where some researchers take a different turn. Ancient astronaut theorists point to descriptions of beings descending from the sky, Vimanas coming from other worlds or other realms, technology far beyond the civilization's level, and similar flying machine myths in Egypt, Mesoamerica, and China. Erich von Däniken famously argued these were alien spacecraft, but there's another possibility nobody talks about. What if it's not ancient aliens, but ancient humans who were far more advanced than we think? Archaeological discoveries keep pushing back human achievement dates. Göbekli Tepe is 11,000 years old, requiring engineering we assumed didn't exist. The Antikythera mechanism is a 2,000-year-old analog computer. The Baghdad battery consists of possible electrical devices from 250 BCE. What if there was a sophisticated ancient civilization, not aliens, that developed this technology? What if natural disasters, climate change, or catastrophic events destroyed most evidence? Here's what we know for certain. During World War II, the Nazis actively researched Vimana texts for their advanced weapons programs. Declassified documents prove this. NASA has studied Mercury-based propulsion and ionic wind thrusters, both described in Vimana texts. Several Indian institutes have attempted to build Vimanas. While none have successfully flown, the mere attempt by accredited scientists suggests something worth investigating. Why aren't these texts more widely studied in mainstream academia? Funding, stigma, or something else? Here's my take after researching this for months. Are Vimanas real ancient flying machines? Possibly, but not as literal spacecraft as described. More likely, they were an advanced understanding of aerodynamics expressed in poetic or religious language, real but misunderstood technology from a lost civilization, or symbolic and mythological vehicles representing spiritual concepts. Are they alien technology? Probably not. There's no need for the alien hypothesis when human ingenuity could explain it. Are they worth studying? Absolutely. Whether literal or metaphorical, these texts contain knowledge that modern science is only beginning to appreciate. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Ancient civilizations were far more sophisticated than we give them credit for. They had knowledge we lost, understood principles we are rediscovering, and saw the world in ways we have forgotten. Maybe the real question isn't, did Vimanas exist, but what else did ancient humans achieve that we've dismissed as myth? What do you think? Ancient technology? Alien visitors, or elaborate mythology? Drop your theory in the comments. I read every single one. If you found this fascinating, you'll love my video on ancient nuclear weapons in the Mahabharata. Link in the description. The evidence there is even more shocking. Hit that subscribe button, because next week we're investigating the Antikythera mechanism, a 2,000-year-old computer that shouldn't exist. And if you want to dive deeper, I've linked all my research sources below. Thanks for watching, and remember, history is written by the victors, but truth has a way of surfacing. See you in the next one.